So I travel a lot as part of my work as an economic advisor, and one place I spend a lot of time is in the Middle East. I've spent many, many months there, essentially lived there almost half the year for several periods of time over recent years, particularly countries in what's called the GCC, the Gulf Cooperative Council, which is Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, and Oman. So I've spent a lot of time in Saudi Arabia, a lot of time in the United Arab Emirates. And in that time, I've learned that there is a huge amount of misconceptions about the Middle East and about the region and about the Gulf and the individual countries. I can't even begin to cover them in a short video, but what I can say is for people to please be very, very cautious and careful when you hear about all of these things that kind of view all of the Arab world or all countries that are Muslim countries as some sort of monolithic, sort of poor, uneducated kind of mass that's against us. People seem to think that there's some sort of similarities between, for example, Saudi Arabia and Afghanistan or something like that. Nothing could be further from the truth. There are problems in every country in the world, but in these Gulf states, I see huge, huge misconceptions. You know, some of the big ones are, you know, things like terrorism. People think that you know, for some reason there's some kind of support of terrorism in Saudi Arabia, but it's important to remember that Saudi Arabia was the victim of terrorism also. Those same terrorists who attacked us, Al-Qaeda, also attacked in Saudi Arabia in Al-Khobar. Osama bin Laden and his leadership of Al-Qaeda, he had three goals. One was to kill the leadership of Saudi Arabia. One was to remove the United States from the region, and another was to stop United States support of Israel. So he actually, you know, hated Saudi Arabia and its leadership more than us, and I'm sure they felt the same about him because you know, he specifically targeted them. So to think that the mainstream people in Saudi Arabia have any kind of sympathy towards terrorism is absolutely ridiculous. There's many, many, many other misconceptions about all kinds of different areas of life, but I really urge people to very, very carefully look at where the source is coming from and look at the data and look at the information. And ideally, if you could do something kind of like what I've done, actually go there and see for yourself. Almost anybody who's actually been there is going to have a different opinion than what the nonsense you hear on mainstream media is typically.